It is Thursday. RawMikeRichards.com, broadcasting live from 234 King Street East in downtown Toronto, out of the Pacific Junction Hotel. Once again, the marvelous glassed-in studio. You know, lots coming up again today, and unfortunately, I think, Dave, weather is going to be a part of this, in more ways than one, this sports broadcast, if you want to call it that. Now, you knew that the game being held in Houston and Jacksonville was going to be pretty emotional. But now Jacksonville's got to think where they just came from. And now Florida, apparently, Dave, is going to get it. We're almost worse, they're thinking, than even Houston. That it might be one of the worst hurricanes of our time, or at least of this generation. And the mayor of Miami saying that you better get out because this city at some point is going to be completely underwater.
Just brutal thinking about it. I've been to Miami a couple of times, enjoyed South Beach, and I'm just thinking in my mind that because it's so close to water, and it's literally, you know, if we're on South Beach right now, King Street is right beside us. That's where the water is, and that water is going to be flooding, especially that area, and then keep it going. It's brutal. And this is one of the destructions that will not be fixed in a year or 2 years, 3 years. This might take a decade to actually fix properly, and it's a horrendous surprise that people weren't really anticipating when they were dealing with Harvey and so forth, and then all of a sudden it's like there's a storm that's even bigger coming out. And the other side of it, which we haven't really talked about much, and they're not talking about it yet because it just hasn't hit Florida yet, there's potential for that hurricane to drift up the East Coast.
Well, I mean, the residual effect on where that comes up the eastern seaboard, we don't know.
So how far does it come up?
Well, apparently it hasn't lost any strength at all.
Nope. They're
saying that it has almost destroyed St. Martin. Like, this is the weird stuff that we watch on movies and go, oh, yeah, imagine, the day after and all this kind of stuff.
Sure.
And look, I'm not one of these guys that's in tuned with global warming or, weather conspiracies. It's certainly not my area of expertise. In fact, it rarely would cross my mind unless you see, Denzel Washington and Arnold Schwarzenegger in, World Storm or something, But this is real. And we talked about Leo Rautins, how he came back and had to go back down. I'm hoping he got back out again. I have a cousin who lives in that part of the world. He sent a picture on Facebook, and it looked like the beginning of The Walking Dead, where you see all the cars completely stopped and jammed on the freeways trying to get out of the city and nobody's moving. That's what it looks like down there. So you have an issue where at some point, as the mayor of Miami said, when the grid gets knocked out, because invariably that's what's going to happen when a city goes underwater, that's where the standstill is, and then nothing happens. And when nothing happens in a major urban center, nothing good comes from this, Dave, and human beings just resort back to their first instinct, which is to survive. And when that happens, it's, hey, ain't a movie. We go back to our basic instincts, and it's nothing but it's going to be worse than looting if this is the case. Looting would only be a part of it, Dave.
Yeah, only a small part of it, and it's a destruction of an entire metropolitan city, and in a very touristy city. And the other aspect of it is, and people make fun of it, and I'm not making fun of it right now, but the percentage of senior citizens in that area is off the chart.
Yeah, and so what? They're just hopping on a plane, getting out of there. Try that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So people talk about that being heaven's waiting room, so to speak, and that percentage of people, it's terrible to think of. I'm just on a site right now that's tracking it, and they say the actual eye of the storm itself, the center part, is bigger than multiple islands combined. That's unheard of.
Like, apparently it's just gone by the northern part of the Dominican Republic, and then moving up towards. The thing is, it's coming. You see what the logjam that it creates on people trying to get out of there. I know that some of the airlines here in Canada, whether it's Air Canada, I don't know by brand name how many, but they're trying to send like an extra like dozens of flights. But you can, it's about air traffic, Dave. You can only get so many planes in and
Bingo.
out at a given time. What is that capacity? And I said, this is when human beings will be at their worst. I just hope that they all understand in this time of extreme emergency that the thought of letting those go before you, giving, sort of deciding at a given moment who's got to go first, who can stay behind, who can go second, because a lot of that stuff, Dave, quite frankly, goes out the window.
It does. CNN reporting right now that it's passing through Puerto Rico onto the Dominican Republic as a Category 5. It will go through the Turks and Caicos, a place that my wife and I actually honeymooned around this time because our anniversary is coming up, which is just crazy to think about that beautiful
because
island.
People are doing that very same thing, Dave.
Absolutely, it is. And it is supposed to hit Miami as a I think it's as a 4, but a 4 is just it's still monstrous. It's still monstrous.
Yeah.
And then head up the East Coast through Jacksonville, as you mentioned, and other spots in that area. So, man, that's unreal. Yeah, the last hurricane of this significant was Hurricane Andrew back in 1992. Average wind speed of 165 miles.
Yeah.
Per hour,
yeah.
Not kilometers, miles per hour.
Well, the thought was, and at this moment still is, the game that's going to take place in Houston on Sunday, that when the emotion of singing the national anthem will be at its, obviously, what they'd say, its zenith, or we thought so, it's going to be beamed out to all the other, I guess, buildings and the rest of the United States. Everyone's going to see the singing of the national anthem in Houston because of the emotional tie to it.
Yep.
Not unlike what we saw with Katrina, or quite honestly, after 9/11, Dave, you saw a lot of these things that happened around Major League Baseball. I know was a big part of that. I mean, it's. But here's the problem. Now you've got Jacksonville that's there.
Yep.
As maybe their city is being obliterated.
And Jacksonville is a smaller city.
It's not big.
It's not big. You almost think of Jacksonville as kind of the warmer weathered Winnipeg of.
It's the poor man's, whatever you want to say it is.
It is. It is. Economic loss from Hurricane Andrew, $26.5 billion, 65 fatalities, and the storm surge reached 17 feet high.
You're saying this was
this is Andrew in 92.
Back in the time, yeah.
This upcoming one is supposed to surpass all those totals.
I don't know what they do south of the border, and trust me, at a time where you need the leadership qualities to get your country through what might be one of its most post-war difficult stages. There you have this division, Dave, between those that are for Trump and those who literally despise and hate his existence. That's the man you have in office.
Yeah.
Of all the times to be president, even if you were a great one, even if it was Obama, this is going to be a real push to see what sort of leadership qualities you have to get your country out of maybe historically one of its worst scenarios once again. So we'll sit there and pray for our friends and brothers south of the border, Dave. But I got to tell you, it's really hard a little bit to concentrate here today, even on the show, knowing that that's what's going on. Having, as I said, a lot of us and those watching probably have friends or family. Maybe you do business down there. We'll move on. But again, I mean, even looking at people saying, well, is the Tampa Bay Dolphin game, is that...
That's been canceled.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. So Tampa,
of all the things on that list, whether the Dolphins are going to play or not, probably really not on their minds right now.
No,
that's long gone.
No, that is.
Which is why it's weird to watch Ballers. Ballers is shot in Miami.
Yep.
And you see how basically the existence is as they portray a professional athlete, and mostly NFL players. What you talked about living down there. They show the condos. If you watch the $1 million listings Miami, they've got like they do in New York.
Oh yeah,
those buildings, man, they're going down.
No, exactly.
It is just it's very, very difficult. So we will move on with some of what I guess you would consider highlights. I kind of don't know. I don't even know where to start in terms of sports. What was the story that we want to start with last night? What is the biggest story? Well, I can say that in this climate of social also turmoil, Dave, we've seen what has gone on with Colin Kaepernick, who continually, for one way or the other, he's in the news. He's in the news for sometimes reasons that aren't even football related. And yet this, and again, I go back to the way it was in the 70s where, you had Dr. King, you had a lot of these movements, and you're seeing some of that kind of rise now at the same time that we're seeing cataclysmic geographical storms hit the country as well. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And in fact, it's almost unimaginable. But here you have a situation where you have a professional athlete in Las Vegas. He's a football player, professional football player. He's going to see one of the, again, speaking of history, the McGregor-Mayweather fight, even though not by its performance, one of the greatest moments of all time, certainly. But Dave, in terms of its purse, that was another historical night. So who would think that there was gunshots? Michael Bennett comes running out because that's what you do. And, of course, who's the guy that the police? I mean, this is just kind of how it works now. They're battling back and forth, and this is going to be ugly too, on whether it was racially motivated. Because why is it the black guy that goes down? The cops are saying, look, in a situation like that, we're just putting people down. You can't isolate it, but it's still, in the context of what we're dealing with in society, difficult. So Michael Bennett of Seattle getting up, talking about what that situation was like to live through it. This is beyond football again, and gets back to the same social issues that they talk about. Racial, is it indeed racial injustice? It's just one more sprinkle of gasoline on the fire. Here he is at a press conference, actually out of Seattle, property of the National Football League and the Seattle Seahawks.
Actually, I would hate to be up here through these circumstances, to happen to be up here talking about it. It's a traumatic experience for me, my family, and it sucks that the country that we live in now, sometimes you get profiled for the color of your skin, and it's a tough situation for me. Do I think every police officer is bad? No, I don't believe that. Do I believe there's some people out there that judge people on the color of their skin? I do believe that, and I'm just focused on trying to push forward and keep continuously championing the quest for justice for people. Keep pushing equality for oppressed people, and that's just what I'm about, and what I keep doing.
Once again, that from Michael Bennett, as he's saying, the cops drew on him, and they said, if you move, we're going to blow your head off. Well, I can also see that when stuff is going on, Dave, the cops are going to say stuff. It's just that
heated. Yep.
It just that the timing all of this, it actually amplifies the kinds of things that Colin Kaepernick was talking about. But I will say this, that it doesn't seem where we turn to, and sports, for the most part, is supposed to be that one thing that is, Dave, it's escapism. It's our ability to maybe not deal with a lot of the pain, the day-to-day strife that we have as normal people, and that we can, escape into the world of, point spreads, your fantasy pools. We just talked to Matt Kalish from DraftKings, and you're supposed to be able to get away from it. But as you see now, that's just one issue. But again, the canceling of games, the surroundings of given games, like in Houston. Because I'll be honest, if you're covering that game and you're landing in Houston, Dave, and as the plane is about to touch down,
and you're looking out the window,
yeah, what do you think you're going to see? Yeah. You've done this for a living. You know what that's like.
Yeah.
Like, how do you kind of separate?
I'd almost be embarrassed that I'm sitting there covering a football game, and it's. I saw a lot of interviews of news people throughout the country going to Houston to interview people and so forth, and one of the families that were interviewed kind of shot back at the reporter saying, you're here filming me and my family in our lowest moment of our lives, and we don't have a home anymore. And I'm sitting here in a boat, and she started crying, and it's like you watch that and you can't help to because
you want to take the camera and throw it in the water.
No,
I'm sorry.
Exactly.
But you can't.
No, exactly. And the thing is, I haven't never been in that situation, but I have talked to people that, and it's up there. And as far as toughness is concerned, interviewing the families of of people that have lost their loved ones within the last couple of days. And that, you just, how do you approach the how do you feel question? Because you want to ask that question, but you don't want to ask that question in that way. Because if I ask you how you feel and you have lost somebody close to you, I expect you as a
and
human
all your
being,
worldly possessions.
exactly, to tell me, how the F do you think I feel?
Yeah.
I want to wring your neck right
Yeah.
now for even asking such a stupid question like that. And it just, it's brutal.
Well, look, Dave, put it this way. So we talked to Sean Menard,
Yes.
who's got the Carter Effect. It's a movie that, quite frankly, for the audience here in Toronto, that will be full of the celebrity and paparazzi.
Sold out in
you can't
seconds, by the way. Seconds.
You saw our friend John Dix he watched the countdown, tried to get on, gone. But if you're one of those celebrities, in this week coming up, starting today, so on King Street down towards University, between University and Peter, it's going to be blocked off.
Yeah.
For the, what do they call it? The glitter.
Yeah, the
glitterazzi, or what do they call it?
Yeah. Toronto International Film Festival.
How do you walk down in the pearls and the high heels and the tuxedos,
knowing what else is happening,
knowing what's going on? I don't know if I could. Like, look, we're struggling here today. Like, I really didn't think we would sort of be in this area in terms of our conversation, Dave. Like, I really didn't. Because we had all kinds of things that we were lined up to talk about, but all of a sudden, it really does get a little meaningless. Questions about Tom Brady, his future, how far can he go, how good are the Patriots? Okay, let's answer all of them. Good, good, and good.
Yep. That line up to 10 points, by the way. Just saying.
Well, there still is that. Let's escape into that a little bit. And by the way, what was it?
And that is an escape for us.
What is it, over 11 and a half games? Is that what you had now?
I have over 11 and a half for the season, yeah. That number right now officially on
what's it, 13 and a half now?
On different sites is 12 and a half.
12 and a half.
Yeah, so it's not crazy, but of course, and those numbers, get your futures in right now, those numbers end tonight kind of thing before kickoff, because you can't bet a season total during an actual game.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do tonight in New England, because as you mentioned, if that storm, which they generally tend to do depending on the strength of it picking up, I mean, they do go up the East Coast.
They go up the East Coast, and that
New England will be sitting right there.
And you're talking about arguably the one of the biggest centers of the world when you hit into that New York area. And Boston is just nearby. Philadelphia's in that area.
New Jersey, they're all in there.
It's all in that area as far as the financial beings of this side of the world in the New York area. So it's you don't want to think about that, and you hope that the storm does actually die down. But will Toronto itself, where it's located, will get the side effects of it.
We'll get rain,
but it's not going to be 1/1,000,000th of what they're going through.
This is the time where I wish we could talk to Alex Marvez and not about football.
No,
because he's down there.
He's down there,
and
exactly.
I do think
That's
about
a
him.
good point,
We should have sent something to him too. This is the one time where I think, even from a technical aspect, and we've talked about this as a company, should we have the ability to have phones, like people to pick up and call? Because I know right now that there are people who do follow us and do watch live that are from that part of the world, where I want to know what's going on. It's again, one of the things that we kind of think about. Actually, one of the companies that probably will be a very major and significant sponsor of this program coming up very shortly deals with these kinds of issues. It's just bizarre that this is happening here today. So, once again, normally it's all shits and giggles on the show. We did have a lot of response yesterday, by the way, to the announcement of our involvement with Epilepsy Canada, which we're very, very pleased about. And I guess it's times like this where you start thinking about charitable actions. J.J. Watt, by the way,
is a saint.
I didn't realize. See, I thought his first goal was $5 million. Apparently, it was $200,000. $5 million. It's up to 28,
27 and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. $28 million. Apparently, in terms of the government, I'm hearing numbers like almost $8 billion going towards Houston. Well, when you start talking about those kinds of numbers, what happens if you get it even worse in the state of Florida and up the eastern seaboard? I mean, it's a real concern. But again, once again, J.J. Watt, when you look at the responsibilities of athletes, you talk about what needs to be done. What else can this guy do? We're not even talking about his play on the field, but in terms of inspiration, mean, I don't even know what category you put him. When he walks onto that field, and again, we talk about point spreads all the time. It was -5 Houston. I don't know if don't know if that number's changed
6.
at all.
6.
It's up to 6.
Yeah.
It'll be closer to a touchdown, I think, by the time they go off. But here's the other problem, and we mentioned it beforehand. You're thinking mostly about the inspiration that Houston has in trying to, rise above, I would say, the ashes, but literally it's the waterline. But now you're going to be pounding on a team whose city also, as we mentioned beforehand, in Jacksonville, might be getting it too. This is just a very weird time, I think, in terms of our society. It's world climate, literally and figuratively, world climate. So we will move on here, and again, because it's really tough to talk. Like, I mean, there was things that I had that I was going to talk about, like the Janikowski contract, where now, see, this is where it really starts to feel perverted, where there's and what I mean is it's a perverseness to what I'm about to say in light of the conversation we just had. So he agrees to a new deal with the Raiders. They've resolved the contractual differences, and it's been reworked so it's no longer an issue. So he was going to get his guaranteed pay anyways for the first week based on the previous salary at $4 million a year. So what will so what he'll make week number 1 for that game is $285,000.
Not bad, eh?
To go out, punt, place kick,
just place
or
kick.
sorry, place kick,
Yeah.
kick off.
So he'll go 3 for 3. The Raiders will score 3 touchdowns, so there'll be 3 kickoffs, and he'll
6 appearances. There'll be 6
appearances.
place kicks.
And he'll get his 200, what did you say, 85?
$238 million week 1 of the previous salary.
Not bad, eh? I'd do it.
I say, Russell, get out there. Russell, get out there. But I've never kicked a ball. It doesn't matter. It's $238,000. We'll split 3 ways.
There you go.
Just, you know what? Make it look on the kickoff like it's a short kick. I think that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. I think they might be expecting it, but just in case,
Put it straight up.
let's take the full line. Let's have them run behind the other side. Let's put let's put the hands team out on the other side, and let's see what happens, baby.
Go for it.
Actually, the short kick was one of the interesting things as teaching kids in high school and special teams about how to kick, at least because there's two real differences in philosophy. One is to get that ball up nice and high, which I think is more of the chance, I think, when you're talking pros. Or there's the one that I used to, which is, here in Canada or the CFL, you've got the white ring around the ball. Just kick that. Kick the white part of the ring on a diagonal, because it's going to hit one of those crazy because of the oblong shape, and it's going to kick up. It usually hits somebody in the chest,
Yes.
and then it's a free-for-all.
Yeah.
I don't want the ball in the air because I know that they got their hands team out
Sure.
there, and all of a sudden you got Randy Moss or someone like that
There you
who's
go.
jumping up. You're not getting the ball from him. So kick it at the chest of, whoever who's got a number like 48 or something.
Yeah.
Hammer it right at him and make sure that ball just bounces up, because that is a hard thing to catch.
I remember Troy Westwood did that I'm guessing it was probably 12, 13 years ago. They were playing Saskatchewan, and the ball, they weren't ready for it, obviously. And either was I, just watching it. And he line drives it into the guy's stomach. And it's like, and boom, free for all, bang, jump the ball, get the ball. It was well worked. You can only do that so many times. But yeah, when you're coaching kids, even at the high school level, you're getting a kick, like the football kick, because it's not going to be thrown at you spirally.
No.
It's going to be a helicopter.
It's going
ball.
in over him, but it what happens is it hits that weird side of the ball, and then it kicks up.
Exactly.
It kicks up, and when it
Great
does that,
strategy.
yeah,
Great strategy.
comes a million miles an hour, and it hits them in the chest, and they can't. Like, even for pros, it's a tougher one.
And it's hard to get out of the way too, right?
Well, no, because that's what guys think. They go, I heard coaches let it go through. Well,
Good luck.
that's hard to do,
You
because
got
if it
6
hits
guys beside you.
if it hits the other side of the nose of the ball, it kicks up and kind of stops. As I said, special teams, it was one of my favorite, and I get guys like Michael O'Shea are really good at it. There are certain coaches who are really good at special teams, and you can tell because it works. You're listening to rawmikeRichards.com. You're also watching on the dedicated YouTube channel. We appreciate all the subscriptions that we've been getting in lately. I guess also, what issues do you want to talk about? Well, baseball last night. I will say this. I don't think that anybody, especially the Dodgers, we said it the other day, They don't want to play. No one, I think, wants to play Arizona.
Nope.
There's a couple of teams that we haven't talked about. Look, it's not like we've ignored the Diamondbacks because they have been part of the discussion from a really good start that they had in the season. They were a substantial team. I think you liked them for a while to actually, get through. And we thought, well, the Dodgers are the team. The Dodgers are not having any fun playing. And you know who's not really having fun? And you can tell when this person doesn't have fun? Yes, the old Puig. When Puig doesn't enjoy it, the no me gusta esto, when he doesn't like it, like he did last night, there's a frustration. And sometimes that frustration means he may just hit himself in the head with a bat. Courtesy and property of Major League Baseball and Major League Baseball Advanced Media.
High in the air. Peralta's out there in left.
He popped it up.
But Puig just misses one
Watch
right
this.
here.
Pops it
Gets
up.
underneath it,
He's
skies
mad.
it high in the air.
Here
to
comes
left
the bat
field.
on the head. Doink.
Keeps hitting himself on top of the helmet with his bat. That's probably not a good thing.
Look, I mean, by the way, it wasn't just a tap. It wasn't just a tap. He gives it the old sort of back towards the old crown of the head. Not that he
Probably didn't
feel it.
No.
Got a bit of the Ty Domi going on.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like people would tire of hitting Ty in the top of the head.
Snakes win, by the way, 3-1.
Who did?
The Snakes.
Oh, the Snakes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one of those
Diamondbacks.
sports. That's one of those sports things. Dave. Oh, the Desert Dogs. Those kind of.
There you go.
I hate that shit. I'm telling you, these little nicknames these losers have for something. Hey, the Desert Dogs nip the I don't know. Can't even think of all the stupid names. The Knuckleheads, 2-1. The Desert Dogs.
Desert
The Phoenix Coyotes. Now the Arizona, but you know what? Just stop it.
Well, D-backs, Snakes, Zona.
I don't even like shit like the Hoop of the Harm.
The Hoop and the Harm.
What do you mean? I don't mind foul, the basket. I don't mind and one. I get that.
Well, you better not listen to Dutchie then. He has a
No,
lot.
because he does a lot of the hoop
Yes.
in the harm.
Yeah.
Because he would have said last night, the Snakes go in and they take out the LD rays.
No, see, that doesn't even make sense. I can't even do it now. What would he call them?
La La Land.
The la dodgeballers, and they take it from the Snakes. And look at Puig. You know what? He reminds me of myself and Kelly Chase, my cousin. And we used to go down to Arizona, and we chased snakes, but a different kind of snake, if you know what I'm talking about. Actually, we were the ones who had the snakes. That's a terrible story, and that's a bad story that goes back to back, Dave.
We're going to get a lot of comments on live chat about bring back Dutchie and Don.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Dutchie and
Well,
Don.
Dutchie and Don, and we had Travolta. It was
Travolta and Dutchie for
That's So Hockey.
That's So Hockey.
Yeah, we'll do that.
You should.
You know, Dutchie came and he goes,
Richie, I have to admit, that's a pretty good Dutchie. That's the best Dutchie.
I know. See, now we're having fun. This is actually we'll do. Victor Newman will come in. He's got his really strange.
No, what is he doing? What is he doing? Is he touching NFL right now?
So
or
he's
is he
got-
going to go
he's-
college, CFL.
He doesn't have any college, which
Okay.
I think he did last week.
Yeah, he did.
Last week I kind of
Yeah, it was
thrown around a
college,
little bit. But he's got an NFL. He's got a couple of CFL because he likes his CFL passionate picks, and then he has a premiership game.
Oh, well, he does
Yeah.
like soccer.
Yeah.
He
So
used
we-
to play pro soccer too. That's what he tells us.
Yeah, don't get it. We got Dave. We have enough anger in this world right now without you doing that. We were gonna have James Sherman on too, but we couldn't get him for this week.
No, I couldn't work
Yeah.
out for Friday.
He's busy with those pies.
Love them pies.
He's
Love them pies.
He's busy with the pies. And did you see the one? He's got the chicken curried one that they
Oh,
have
he has a new one too. He has a pulled pork one, a pulled pork pie.
Oh, that
Delicious.
sounds so good.
Yeah.
We
By
should-
the way, it's called. His website is Real Pies. Is it Real Pies Inc? I'll look it up as we talk in here. But yeah, Charmin's. Whoa, those are tremendous. Tremendous.
Yeah, those are they. He fashioned a lot of them. Well, we saw yesterday. We still don't have that, do we? Yeah, maybe the one that they fought over at
RealPiesInc.com.
the Nottingham Forest boys who got into a fight over the last pie. So as you know, the English take their meat pies very
Sure they
seriously.
do. Yeah.
Last night as well, Major League Baseball. It was it Jackie Bradley Jr. Every time I say that name, Do you remember the Martin Short character that he did on SCTV?
Yeah, I actually do.
It was Jackie.
Yes.
Jackie Rogers Jr. He used to play. He goes, "Let me tell you something, man. You know that with the weird. He was an albino with white hair." Jackie was it Jackie Rogers Jr.? Okay, this is not Martin Short. Either way, I guess there's some more pain for the Toronto Blue Jays. I don't know if it really matters, but I think what it might do for a lot of Blue Jay fans is just force them to go, okay, I think now we can officially we can officially give up on the Blue Jays. This once again courtesy of Major League Baseball and Major League Baseball Advanced Media.
Of getting one or better. Jackie swings and he launches one deep to right field. Carrera going back to the track in front of the bullpen. It is gone. A home run. JBJ. A 2-run shot. It's 5-1 Red Sox as Jackie Bradley Jr. launches his 15th.
Well, once again, I don't know how much it matters, but if you're talking about the Bo Sox, they're certainly in the heat of it. But Dave,
4-game lead over the Yankees.
Does that surprise you?
Yeah. You know what? I just don't like the way what the Yankees are doing. And Aaron Judge is going into a little bit of a nosedive as far as his numbers and what he's doing at the plate. But overly, at the start of the year, the Red Sox have the better team. I do. Like the Yankees and what they do, you know what? Money found for them, because I think after this year and after a couple more free agent signings within the next couple of years, the Yankees are going to own this division for the next 5 years. So, Boston has to kind of take advantage of what they have right now, because they do have the better roster. ESPN, by the way, forecasts the Red Sox making the playoffs at wait for it, 99.9% chance
I love those.
of making the playoffs.
I love those. I think Doug Fister got the win, I believe, and it looks like he's actually a pitcher of significance. The reason that sounds odd is there was a time where that's where he was. Doug Fister was like a guy that you were paying a lot of money for if he was on
Fister. I don't even know her.
Moving right along. Then he really kind of went.
That's an old one.
See, did he ever play for the Desert Ducks?
Oh.
And now he's back in the good graces again, because there was a time where, honestly, even though I gave up betting on baseball, because Jimmy the Bag can do it, and he's good at it. I think baseball's really
tough,
volatile, and he's good at it. I left it alone. But I'd look for where Doug Fister was pitching and bet against him. Not now. Not this year.
Not a fan of Doug Fister, right?
But Carrasco, you're not getting a lot of value with him, because odds are he's going to win. They continue Dave to cruise right now, and look, this was a team at the beginning of the year. If I'm looking at these headlines, I'm like, yeah, it's what we saw. There's no surprise. But they had, a sluggish start to the season at times. It took them a long time to get now, the timing is perfect. If Cleveland's going to go on a bit of a run, this is now, a 14-game win streak. Carlos Santana homers, right? So you check the box on your stud doing that. But a complete game yesterday. And once again, courtesy and property of Major League Baseball and Major League Baseball Advanced Media. Get a load of this performance.
Just sit back and watch Carrasco, man. He's like, everything's under control. Everything's around the plate. The breaking ball, the fastball.
You're out.
That slider is about as good as we've seen in a long time.
You're out.
Santana.
And then Pry.
Deep to right. Garcia's on a roll. It's out of here. And the Indians have equaled the franchise record with their 14th consecutive win.
Now, to be honest, sometimes when you get to those gaudy streaks, Dave, and you hit 13, even in the gaming world, you look at it and go, okay, 13, that's enough. Okay, what's going on? But the problem is, Carlos Carrasco gets up there, and you're like, well, they're probably not going to lose this game either. They're hitting their stride. I mean, here we are, basically first week-ish of September, and if a team's going to roll, this is kind of what Kansas City did a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Except, I think this is a way more talented team. This is going to be a tough team.
Very tough team. There's a couple teams like that, though, out there on both sides of the National League and the American League, and it's the thing that makes baseball really interesting, because you sit there, and in the past, the wild card team that would just be happy to make the postseason, the division winner would just mop them up and finish it off, and they kind of move on. it's not really the case anymore. You could actually make a pretty good sizable, bet and say, a wild card team's going to win this whole thing, and you can have a legitimate chance at it too. You know what I mean? And you're going to get the number at the right time. So, I mean, watch out for teams like that to maybe make some noise in the postseason. If you get hot for 3 weeks, you're holding a trophy at the end of it.
Dave, I would say being really, again, baseball is I'm not an aficionado. This is not my number one sport. But the one thing that I will give them full credit for, in a league that does not have fiscal certainty, they don't have a salary cap, right? So there's no restrictions. So generally in leagues like that, you're thinking, okay, well, if the Yankees and the Bull Sox have all the money, if the Dodgers have all the money, they spend all, you can go down the list of teams that will spend to get a championship. Then by rights, this league should have the worst playoffs and the worst championships, because you're going to see it year after year. That's why, for the most part, you take a look at the biggest leagues in soccer. So when Leicester City won a couple of years ago, that was just a freak show like that, and that will never happen again. Honestly, if the one things that I look at, Leicester's never going to do that again. But if you're going to go through the great teams of the Chelseas, depending on the year, right, or Arsenal, or you go through all the teams that have that kind of power. If you're looking in, Spain or Italy, certain names are going to come up because they can go out, and if you're Real Madrid, I can go out and if I want Cristiano Ronaldo and I want to pay $9 billion, I get them. It's just simply how it works. And sometimes you do see those teams over and over again. Major League Baseball is a freak show once it gets to the playoffs. They have some of the most engaging, crazy results. And for that reason, and I will say, I can be bored by a lot of what goes on in the regular season. 162 games. There's a good portion of that season where, especially in the middle of the summer, I'm not caring too much. But this fall, and we said it, a couple of months ago, this is going to be real shits and giggles, because I don't know if you can guarantee on what each individual team is going to do. And that's before Houston had its devastation by the hurricane. I don't know what's going to go on. I really don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and you talk about not only that, but the markets that are involved: Los Angeles, Chicago, Washington, New York, Boston. This is exactly like if you're in the Major League Baseball offices and you're looking at projected ratings, and those are the cities involved, you're licking your chops. This might hit records as far as viewing audience is concerned, and if a viewing audience hits a certain mark, advertising and commercial profits on those stations, on those networks, are going to go up as well. So, and then even for the smaller markets, there's a lot of Cleveland Indian fans just because of those stupid movies in the 80s. You know what I mean? There's still those kind of fans out there. And Houston might be that team that the rest of North America cheers for just because of what's happened in that city. So there's a lot going on there, and if you're MLB right now, you can't wait for this thing to wrap up. I know it's the 7th of September, but we're 3 weeks away from throwing out the first pitch of the postseason, which promises to be a really good October.
Well, I think a lot of people, again, we talked about escapism, are going to gravitate towards it, but I don't think when a lot of us were talking about that, we were mostly thinking about Houston. We weren't thinking about Florida because we still don't know. But when I hear reports, is it St. Martin and then the British Virgin Islands all through there? We're also talking about a lot of money, people. That's a lot of rich people go down there. If you're talking about St. Bart's, that's where like Mick Jagger and people go to vacation. Not us.
No.
Look at this room. Look at where we'd be going.
Winnipeg.
And North Winnipeg. not the good Winnipeg. Yeah, Russell's talking about going to Uxbridge. Yeah, look at me. You know what dirty places I go to. I mean, people go, "Are you going all inclusive?" And people are like, "All inclusive. They're not that great. They can be dirty. They can be like real nasty places." Yeah, I know. It's like, hey, it's a university party. All right. Excuse me? You're 50. So?
University party it is.
You're a downer. Yeah, and you're the oldest person by like 8 times. So, how you doing? It's not wrong, people. It really is not wrong. Speaking of nicer weather, if we're ever going to have it. That's generally something that you follow with golf. And I would say for even the casual golf fan, when you start talking about the President's Cup, when you talk about things like the Ryder Cup, do you like it? Because I really like the formats.
I love the Ryder Cup more than the President's Cup.
The Ryder Cup is pretty cool because, just the different kinds of events, the guys that end up going sort of head-to-head. Like, it's competition that obviously, when you're in a tournament, you have 4 days of guys in groupings, and eventually you will see on a Sunday generally 2 guys going at it. But at the most part, the Ryder Cup has become a real spectator, sport, and one in which the Europeans dominate for the most part. And it's loud, it's not stuffy. It's far from that. And the Americans, for the most part, in the Ryder Cup, they got to learn how to relax. they do. Like, how did they not, when they went to the K Club in Ireland, like, you're in Ireland, how do you not just go and chase a bat in someone's house? Apparently that does work. That's a way to loosen up. That was crazy yesterday. People were like, they loved it. It went viral. But it's the President's Cup, and so here's the U.S. team.
So if people are curious about this, before you get into that, just hold your thought for a second. So Ryder Cup is United States versus Europe. President's Cup is basically United States versus the world. So it's international. Yeah. So that's why in the past you've seen a Mike Weir part of it. He's not part of it this year. Graham Dillette part of it, and so forth. So just to give you a premise of what it actually means, President's Cup compared to Ryder Cup. I like the Ryder Cup better than the President's Cup, but it's still a fantastic similar type tournament when you're talking about the President's Cup.
Like, Mike Weir has been on the international team before.
Yes.
So the international squad. Matsuyama, Jason Day, Adam Scott, Oosthuizen, Charles Schwartzel, Mark Leishman, Brandon Grace, Johnny Vegas, Siwoo Kim, and Adam Hadwin.
Canadian.
Yeah, there's your internationals, and it figures Adam Hadwin, the last name mentioned.
It's not alphabetical either.
I know. No, it's like,
I'm trying to look for a reason why.
No.
But.
And who are we taking from Canada? Is that Australia? No, it's different. Adam Hadwin.
Adam Hadwin.
Yeah, that's Hadwin. I'm right here. I can hear you. So Adam Hadwin. The Americans: Dustin Johnson, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Ricky Fowler, Daniel Berger.
No relation to Howard.
Right? No. Brooks, Koepka, Kevin Costner, Kevin Kistner, Patrick Reed, Matt Kuchar. Now, there was a choice between right at the end, and I guess they came down to, actually, it's the rankings, Dave, right? So it came down to decimal points. So Kevin Chappell and Charlie Hoffman, it was decided by decimal points, and so it will be Kevin Chappell, not Charlie Hoffman.
Will it? I thought Steve Stricker, the captain of the U.S. team, made Hoffman.
Hoffman is on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because so it's Mickelson's friend, they say, Charlie Hoffman. I don't think that's fair to say that's the reason why he made it. You're my friend. Come on. No. So Charlie.
Phil, come on, dude.
Charlie Hoffman.
Think about it. When we played in San Diego together.
Diego. The Phil Mickelson's streak of playing on every single U.S. Ryder Cup and President's Cup team since 1994 will continue, courtesy of President's Cup captain Steve Stricker, who made him one of his 2 picks on Wednesday. Stricker also chose his friend Charlie Hoffman to round out the 12-man team. It's Hoffman's first President's Cup championship.
Now, our good friend Mark Zecchino from Golf Talk Canada said he thought that the presidents on both sides, the captains on both sides made good choices.
Yeah, of course. Mark doesn't say anything bad about these guys.
Oh, is he a fair? Is he a fair man? He's not tough. He's not tough.
He's more of a fair than tough. By the way, the captain of the international squad is Nick Price. Nick Price.
There'll be obviously a full slate of college football games, but it's probably going to remain to be seen depending. I haven't looked yet, but Arkansas State, a lot of people wouldn't. I think that's where it'll come to me. That game has been canceled, and you're going to have to take a look at games that won't be made up, by the way. So UT San Antonio, so you'll see it UTSA and University of Houston. They're just like, this tells you where they probably think they're going to be in terms of the college football playoffs. They're like, but what about our games? Don't worry, don't have to play it.
Nope. Get the week off, guys.
It's not going to be made up. So, boy, I mean, if they're going to have a weekend like they did last weekend, I'm looking forward to that because that was crazy. I know a lot of people who were Texas Longhorn fans were like all week long, they were just pounding how great the Longhorns would be coming out. I mean, they really, this was a season where they were going to kind of turn it around. Maryland, they gave no respect to. Maryland wins that football game. There were a bunch of upsets.
By the way, speaking of football, there's a limousine that just pulled up outside.
Who do you think it is?
Got a feeling I might know who it is.
Someone fancy?
Someone fancy wearing a black tuxedo. I don't know. You might know.
Oh. Are we doing this already? Is that
Well, it is 10 to 11.
It's 10 to, well, yeah. Not that you're counting. Well, as you know, we said sometimes that we would do the picks. And sometimes it hold on, I have to wait till that goes by. But they are important. Last week, I think he did the picks, but why am I not remembering? Because you were away on the Friday.
I was there on the Friday, yeah. And then maybe
no, there wasn't. Victor was not here last week.
Yeah, there were no
Victor picks
last week.
Damn it.
Okay, well.
So nobody won any money. Is that what you're trying to say?
I think that's what's happening. And
well, things about to change because money's about to be won as we welcome back for the first time in 2 weeks, Mr. Victor Newman. Victor, good morning.
Well. I would like to say to you, Dave, that was a damn classy introduction you gave me.
Thank you.
Although you have dressed despicably.
I have.
What is that logo you have in your damn shirt?
That's the Montreal Expos, future logo of the...
Yeah, you listen to me right now.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
If you're going to wear a damn logo, make sure the team exists, all right?
Sorry.
But I do have some good news for you.
Oh, tell me.
You're looking at the new owner of the Montreal Expos.
Oh, that's even better. That improves my chances of playing.
Because I am Victor Newman. You got that? Here come your damn picks. The Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. They're goddamn terrible, all right? Inept on offense. I don't even think the Jets have enough players to play the damn game.
You might be right.
They took a knee before the season even started.
It wasn't the national anthem.
Take the under on this one. That's a 1.91. It's a damn delicious number, and I like it. Under 40, of course. The British Columbians and the Montreal Alouettes. Once again, Montreal. That's another reason that Victor's buying the team. The women of
Good
Montreal. City. You know, I like to make out with women right in hotel lobbies. Flickering tongues and everything.
Is that your choice of...
By the way, how's your mother doing as you talk about me?
I knew that was going to come up.
Take the BC Lions, minus 7.5. It's on the West Coast. It doesn't matter. Those weed blowers, they will get it done. Now, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are going to play Saskatchewan. They were damn terrible last week.
Brutal.
But Victor Newman liked the over last week, and they do again, because I expect the Blue Bombers to score more points than they did because they were damn terrible, all right? It is 60. I say take the over at a 1.91.
That's a lot of points.
What is that supposed to mean?
I'm just saying.
Shut the hell up, all right? The Ottawa Redblacks and Hamilton. Hamilton got God to intervene so they didn't lose again. That and terrible officiating. Let me tell you, they're not going to be so lucky this week. In Ottawa, it will crumble. They'll go back to their losing ways. At minus 12, you want to be taking the damn Redblacks. And finally, when it comes to the real football, soccer, you should know, David, that back in Los Angeles, I was quite a player. I was a semi-pro player that played on a fantastic team.
You were, right?
Yes, the Jewish team. Don't make any damn jokes.
I'm not going to say
Stop
anything.
laughing, all right? That's insulting.
I bet you it was a good team.
It was the best team. The shorts showed my strong legs.
Adidas, striped down the side.
Beautiful, muscular legs that the women love. I can wrap my legs around you right now if I
Probably
want.
showed a lot more than legs.
I heard you talking about snakes earlier on. Shut the hell up. I'm not finished, all right? The song's over. Take Liverpool and Man City. And Man City to win the damn game. Over 2.5. Back to you, David. Yeah, there's applause. Thanks a lot, Victor.
Oh, man.
That was the
Three shot, please.
Thank you for the shittiest job ever. There you have it.
I got Oh boy.
Oh boy. Oh, it's good to laugh. It's good to have some fun. You're believe it or not watching rawmickrichards.com on the
Hey, while we're on the topic of spread, I know you never talked about the Thursday nighter, but are you kind of siding that that's a lot of points for Kansas City, that maybe you might be tempted to take Kansas City, or do you think New England does New England, scores 40 points and wins by 21?
I think that on any given week. Now, if we're talking Kansas City with why am I thinking the running back that's out for the season?
Spencer Ware?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's gone.
Yeah.
It's Kareem Hunt.
Yeah. So if I'm sorry, who is it?
Kareem Hunt. He has a brother named Mike.
Yeah. Well, I say so it depends on the book you go to. I've got 8.5 here.
Okay.
8.5's not bad. Even though it's a terrible football number, I just think if you're the Patriots and the expectation is what they think it is.
And they're hanging a banner.
Yeah, that's usually bad luck too.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
That's bad luck. Normally, like, look, watch any hockey game where they do a great big tribute.
Oh, that's money made for the opposition.
It's death. I don't know why, but it always seems to happen. That's a game that, 48.5, I think that's a lot of points.
My wife just texted me and said, "What's wrong with you guys?" I swear to God.
Yeah. Wait till the other two girls are on the show, because they're going to take their father's footsteps. And then when I become like their official uncle because of a marriage that's coming up, Victoria will be married to me. Okay, moving right along. So I don't even know if I like the points in this one, because I'll tell you, of the games that I'm taking this week. All right, so let's get to our dramatic sports music. Hold on. This is the only thing about this day. I knew this day would be weird anyway. This is going to be a weird day. Let's go to this. Let's take a look, because we said we do. Now, our big picks are coming tomorrow, right?
Yes.
So the Dave Bastel foreplay, the Golden Sex picks of Gold Sex, all that kind of stuff.
That's our Sunday NFL feast.
Yeah, that's going to be tomorrow, and I'll throw in probably some of the
you're going to probably put
footy
together
picks and CFL and college.
9-team parlay?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way I'm not doing that, Dave. But if we're looking at tonight's game, Kansas City Patriots, the one thing I would say about Bill Belichick teams is, number one, he obviously doesn't care about the point spread, but they just are a team that wants to be efficient enough to win a game. Sometimes it's not pretty. It's just the ultimate calculation by a guy who's kind of a genius. And I look at this game, so to me, I don't think I'm going point spread. I think I'm going under 48.5. I just don't see this as a game where, it's not the fastest team on turf. This is not a Mike Martz, the Kurt Warner.
Yep.
This is not a track meet. And once you start getting towards 50 points, that means the other team's scoring too. And I don't know if that happens. So even if I look at the first half props, what is the over-under on that? Just trying to take a look at the total.
Well, if the total is 49, it usually means the first half would probably be 25.
Let's
in
just
that range.
see what they've got. Why is this so difficult doing this thing? First half total.
First half total, 29.5.
Do you see 30 points in the first half on game number 1? I take the under on that too. That's what I'd be looking at.
That's a lot of points for a half.
It's a lot of points, and it's the NFL. It's not the CFL.
That's actually, you know what? That's a really good tip, actually. And a lot of times there's a feeling out process. So that means the first, I'm going to say,
this will be the longest time these guys have spent as a first unit together in that first half.
Let's just say tonight, if you're watching that game, there's not going to be any points scored in the first 7 minutes of this game. And that's perfect if you're playing the under.
So
here.
Ask yourself this, and if I said this to you right now, in this game, do they score more points in the first half or the second half?
Yeah, the second half.
It's the second half.
Yeah.
And is that enough to go over the total of 48? I think the first half under is what I'd be taking. Now, the emotion of the game tonight, obviously, it's going to be a reflection, I think, of how America is feeling right now. And as we've talked time and time again on this particular show, what is happening in Florida? Because I would say an enormous percentage, and you said, look, where seniors go and retire, that means there is a great percentage of many Americans across the other states who may have family, including parents, grandparents, uncles, a lot of people here in Canada, we call them snowbirds. A lot of people live down there.
Yep.
Your mind is elsewhere. It's kind of difficult to get your head around some of these things. So, will there be an impact? I think in Foxborough, I think there is. And I just, I'm not saying because of that you take the under. I'm not that callous. But I'm just saying overall, there's going to be a lot of stuff that people are going to try to play emotion into it, and no more so than also the game in Houston, where we don't know if Jacksonville at that time, because remember, that's Sunday. We're only talking Thursday. What does that storm do in the next 72 hours? I think will have a big impact on how even the emotion of that game goes.
That's exactly it, because you're thinking, the players are thinking in the back of their minds. A lot of teams are traveling with their families. The Tampa Bay Rays, for example, have told their players to bring their families on their road trip up to Boston. So I would not be surprised if the Jacksonville Jaguars, and now that they're traveling and they're supposed to return home next week, that game may not even exist next week in Jacksonville, Florida. I'd
be surprised, Dave.
They'll be traveling with their families as well. So
Yeah.
it's a different set of circumstances, and if you're kind of judging that everything is on the mind of these players, would point me in the direction from a betting standpoint of going under the number on a lot of these games.
If I'm looking at the CFL, do you know how many guys in the CFL who either went to school in Florida or from Florida?
Correct.
There's a ton, Dave. Looking at Friday Night Football, it's tomorrow night. We'll look more into it. The BC Lions, as Victor just said, -7.5. The Alouettes are starting to fade a little bit. Their defense kept them in a lot of games this year, but I think and BC better step it up. And if they're going to announce that Lule indeed is their number one guy, that's the right thing to do, because I think he'll be healthy. So I like that. Then you've got the craziness of the Rough Riders and the Blue Bombers. And as I said this past weekend, if you followed me on Twitter, which you can, Raw Mike Richards, me just taking pictures of what I saw off the screen as TSN showed the games. There were times where I only fantasized that our guys, that being CFL players, would play in stadiums that look like that. That game in Saskatchewan, I'm like, if you'd seen that 20 years ago, would you think the CFL, anybody had a building that looked like that?
No, nobody.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And
the craziest thing 20 years ago was sitting there going, wow, the Argos play in that Sky Dome over there in downtown Toronto.
Yeah. Wow.
That's kind of neat.
The roof moves. By the way, any game, whether it's college or even high school, if it's in that Mercedes-Benz building in Atlanta, even the rotation of how it really is built like a Mercedes-Benz vehicle would be. That stadium is unbelievable. I think there's a lot of points in that game. How can these two? Saskatchewan won't stop scoring, but Winnipeg will make this competitive. It's only -2.5, but that's got so much volatility to it. I'm just looking at the total on that one. The Ticats, I don't think are going to get the breaks that they got from the heavens last week.
It's going to be a 2-hour delay or whatever it was.
Even though -12, I think if I see a 2 score difference, like on anything under 2 touchdowns, I certainly would take.
Yep.
And the Stampeders at the Eskimos, those games, no matter how they go the week beforehand, as you know, Dave, you've covered enough of them.
Yes, I have. Great Labor Day environments. Great Labor Day environments.
Even the Doug Flutie teams that were so great, and they'd go and they'd pound the Schmoes at home in Calgary, would go up and Edmonton to win 2 games of the 2-game series.
Tough.
Really hard.
Yeah.
Because the Stamps, quite honestly, took their foot off the pedal in that second half. So it's hard to gauge.
The only thing I'll say is Edmonton's kind of fallen back down to earth lately. With a loss to Winnipeg, then a loss to Saskatchewan, a loss last week against Calgary. All of a sudden, that 7-game magical winning streak is a 3-game losing streak.
Yeah.
So that's something else to consider as well. In that game, Calgary 6-point favorites, somewhere around there, 5.5, 6-point favorites.
I got -6 on mine. Total 56. You might want to be looking at that total again and going over, because it is Labor Day, and Edmonton will get after it, and there'll be another. The buildings will be filled again this week. Great to see for the league. I said the one issue that's very painful, I think, sometimes is Toronto, Dave. Because BMO, I think, was a great idea. They have all the right things going for them.
It made sense.
It completely did. It's just trying to capture the imagination of this city even if Ricky Ray plays the way that Ricky can, it's just people. Do you really want to go down and see it? And right now the answer is no, and it's really hard. Also, things that we want to cover before we go. By the way, we're going to have apparently another director in from TIFF next week.
Excellent.
He's the one. If you watch the Theo Fleury, was that Under Fire? What was that with Theo Fleury's documentary movie?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah. So the guy
sounds like something like that. Yeah.
The guy asking Theo the questions.
Yeah.
Matt. He's going to come in studio next week.
Fantastic. Good.
We might have Leo Routens next week, depending. And look, he'll give us firsthand on what's going on down there, too. That's going to happen. We're also going to have, I believe, Anna from Cleats and Cleavage.
Cleats and Cleavage, yeah.
That's not a name I came up with.
No, that's totally her, not us.
You know who we should get? Rochelle.
You want Rochelle back?
We got Rochelle Ryan. Are you kidding? There's like 100,000 people went to her website just because she was on it, and she knew she was talking about. She did a good job.
Playing with fire is the therapy.
Playing with fire.
Playing with fire.
Why don't you get Theo too? I
Good.
just got a text from him the other day too. You get him on. Yeah, and we've got a lot of stuff that we're certainly going to talk about next week. But tomorrow it'll be the first edition of the Dave Bastel foreplay. Now, what is that you're saying after you saw that that Victor Newman performance? Which I think that's the first time Victor's ever done that ever on any radio station in his career. I've never heard him lose it. I have to send it to my buddy Jerry Forbes at CJ because he loves that shit. He loves it. So some great picks, and we'll have that up as well on our site today. And then, of course, my particular picks, the Mike Richards sex picks of gold sex.
Sex picks of gold sex.
Something like that. Yeah. There's a lot of sex and gold in there.
Yeah, there is.
And trust me,
good combo though. Gold and sex.
If you're gonna go with the gold sex.
What?
Your wife now is going.
Just become best friends. Yep.
Just end the show. Just stop talking.
Do karate in the garage.
Yeah. I know Vic likes gold. She told me. Don't be so down on her. Once again, our thoughts today is we've got family and friends down in Florida, praying that it's not going to be as bad as they say. But if you've been watching the weather, Dave, that's just how it's going to be. So once again, thoughts and prayers in Florida. May it not be as bad as we think. Have yourself a great day. Thanks for joining us once again on RawMikeRichards.com, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.